Hello my friends. Today's video I'm going to talk about my regrets about van life, which are none. That was a short video. Well, there are some if I had to choose, so let's step through them. Probably my number one regret would be not going off-grid sooner. I was doing a lot of stealth camping when I started van life, and so I kind of felt safer at night in the cities. So I would go off, exploring, hiking and snorkeling during the day. And I was quite happy to kind of be off-grid during the day, but then at night I think I just felt a little bit safer amongst people, safety in numbers. So anyway, this year, as most of you know, I've done a lot more off-grid camping and I've just loved it. It's been amazing. I sleep so much more peaceful. I can sort of rest my nervous system by just, grounding myself in one place for a few weeks. So I wish I'd done that sooner. Another thing I wish I'd done sooner was get rid of a lot of my stuff. So when I moved into the van, I think I was still there was still a little bit of trepidation there, how long am I going to do it for? I've got this grand plan of just wanting to live van life and I'm all committed, I'm in like Flynn. But, reality is you still have that little thing in the back of your mind, are you actually going to get sick of it after a few months? Because you don't really know, we all change and, what we want out of life changes from year to year. So, yeah, each year as I've gone through, lived van life, I have gone through my van and just done a clean out, and just if I haven't used it or looked at it in 12 months, then it's going to go. And I'm probably at the point again now, I suppose maybe we all get to that at the end of the year, we want to start the year fresh, so I have gotten to the point where I'm going to do that again shortly. And there were a lot of things I kept that I really just didn't need to keep. I even kept, I only just recently got rid of my 2 sets of heels. So I had some boots and strappy heels that I'd kept. I haven't worn heels since I moved into the van. The only time I ever used to wear them was for work really, or if I was going to some sort of event, but it's just not where I love to be. I don't want to be in restaurants or office environment anymore. So yeah, I could definitely have gotten rid of that stuff a lot earlier. My work clothes, I did get rid of them maybe a year or two ago. Wish I got rid of that sooner. I also have regrets about blindly following Google Maps. There were a few moments when I found myself in the middle of nowhere thinking, what have I done? And I've never really been very good with maps. I have to admit, I am from an era where we grew up with the map books, and I was just terrible at reading them. No good. And so when I put something into Google Maps, I use it a lot because I'm quite often just travelling the country in places I've never been before. So I just go, okay, I want to go here, plug it in and off I go. And most of the time it's fine. I do put in there avoid tolls and stuff like that. So, Google Maps is really amazing. I often think, gosh, if I was doing this back in the day where, I had to use the map books, I'd be stuffed. I'm sure I would have gotten stuck in so many weird and wonderful places. But there were a couple of times where I left Whyalla out of South Australia, and for some reason it took me on a back road rather than going back out on the road I came in on. And I wound up travelling along this random red dirt road that was slightly corrugated for, I don't know, I want to say over an hour. And it was actually lined with wire fencing, and it was army shooting ranges or something on either side. I don't know, I forget what the sign actually said, but it was something like live ammunition in practice or something. And so that was a little bit hairy. I mean, I saw emus and stuff, so it was cool, but you kind of got to reassure yourself, because if you break down out there. And then there was another time when I was driving back from Queensland to WA, and I was going through central New South Wales, and it was a road that just kind of turned into a one-way road. It was quite thin, and it was, if someone else was coming the other way, one of us would have to go off the road and that kind of thing. And there was a lot of there were cows in the middle of the road, there were heaps of goats, and so it was a little bit you had to be careful. So yes, I think just maybe having a bit more of a suss out of your trip before you commit to Google Maps. Now there are a couple of regrets I've heard other van lifers talk about online, and a couple of things that you guys have actually talked about in the comments section a little bit. And the first one is loneliness. So yes, van life is a solitary lifestyle when you're doing it on your own. So it can be lonely, I suppose. For me personally, it's not really something I worry about too much. I've always been that person that is very happy in their own company. Even as a teenager, I would go off camping on my own, just head out into Freo for the day on my own. I feel most at peace in my own company. Don't get me wrong, I would love to travel with the right person, but I also would really just need that time by myself occasionally, because for me it's a reset. It's my connection with everything that is. I need that space. But for some people, they won't cope with that. And it's no judgment on them, because that's completely normal. We are meant to be connected beings, but it can be a solitary and lonely lifestyle if you are travelling on your own. You can certainly keep your feet grounded in one place for a while and sort of get to know that community a little bit, and it just smiling at people as you walk past, and just having a quick laugh about something their dog's doing, or just those little interactions make such a massive difference, not only for you but for the person that you're interacting with too. Like, I have just found that when I smile at someone, and usually dogs are my connection with people, and I mention something about their dog, and then we just keep moving, and I feel happy after that little interaction. And the other thing is stability, or lack of. So some people I've seen have really struggled with just this sense of not knowing where your place in the world is. And I think I have actually had moments like that too in the early days when I started, because when you're in one place, you have a sense of community. When you have a job that you're going to each day, there's a sense of purpose there. When you have a home, you've got your little sanctuary you're coming home to. And look, Gypsy is my sanctuary on the road. I love. I don't know why maybe that's why I love her so much, because I feel so safe in her. But sometimes I used to do house sits occasionally, because I think I felt like I needed to do that. So for the first year of van life, I actually stayed in WA. So for winter, I did do a house sit, because it's really uncomfortable in the van during winter. But I do find like it only takes a week or two, and I'm just itching to be back on the road. It's just my happy place. And when I went to Queensland for the first time, I teed up a house sit there, because it was somewhere I was unfamiliar with. So I really, when you're going somewhere and you're not, like if you're on a holiday, you go to a hotel and then, you go around. But if you're going to a state and you're not actually sure where you're going to land, you're not quite sure of the landscape, you don't know, you're just not familiar with the area, it can be a bit confronting. So yeah, that's why I think I did those house sits, but I haven't done one in a very long time now, because I am very confident on the road now. I'm pretty happy that, I know what I'm doing most of the time now. So, but it can definitely be, it could be something that you might regret, yeah. And the other thing I know that you're all going to know I'm going to talk about is power, because I'm always whinging about my lack of power. So when I started, and look, I've done things gradually to the van, so it wasn't something where I invested straight up in the van, because as much as I wanted to do it and I was so committed, I was also not wanting to overcommit myself financially either, because, like I said, you never actually know. So I have, I've done things and upgraded things as I've gone. And my power system, so I've got a fixed power system, and I have upgraded that. It was fine for the first couple of years. It was a little bit frustrating sometimes. I had a 100 amp hour lithium battery and a 1000 watt inverter and 2 100 watt solar panels on the roof. And because I was like living a stealth camping lifestyle, so I was moving every day, I wasn't sitting still, it was actually okay, like I managed it fine. But this year when I started to go off-grid more, it did become a problem because when I'm sitting still, I only cook with electricity, and I cook most of my meals. So cooking 3 times a day, it really chews through my power setup. And it's cost me a lot in a Sparky labour hire to fix issues and things. So given my time again, I think I would actually have just bought a portable power system. So I haven't ever actually used one, so I can't guarantee, that they're any better or worse, but other people rave about them. And so something like a Bluetti, other people rave about them. I would love to give one a go, and I think in my next van build then I probably will do that, because there would be warranty on them and that sort of thing. So I think, I would get one that's, I would invest in a really good one that had a lot of battery storage. I would have more solar, so I do love having the fixed solar on the roof, but I would also have a backup solar blanket that I could move around in the sun. So there's a couple of little regrets there around power. So something I actually really do regret doing is the roof extension on my vehicle. At the start of this year, had a choice. I was trying to decide various options of extending the roof on Gypsy or upgrading her to another vehicle. And I didn't want a pop top because it was too many moving parts. I was worried about water coming in. I didn't really like the fibro top, the look of them, so I didn't want to go that option. Saw this option, went this route, and it's leaked ever since I had it installed. I don't particularly want to go into any more about that, but my personal experience has not been great, so I wouldn't do that again. I would just stick with a vehicle that actually has a high enough roof that I can stand in, because I do really love being able to stand in here. I do love having airflow. I do love my skylight. So I do love the space, but it's when you've got water coming in your home, it's very, very stressful. So wouldn't do that again. So do I have any regrets about van life itself? The actual act of living in a van, travelling, the inconveniences that you experience living this life? 100% not. No regrets whatsoever. It really is everything I expected it to be and more. I have seen so much of Australia. I had no idea. I just really didn't expect to see so much of it. When I first started, I was more thinking it was just about living the lifestyle, living in the outdoors and just not being confined to a home. The travel side of it sort of came a bit later. I really didn't leave WA for the first 18 months. I did travel a fair bit of WA, but it was all my comfort zones. I'd been there before. But I'd really never experienced much of the East Coast, just little bits and pieces here and there. I lived in Melbourne when I was younger as a kid, but it's just blown me away. I've fallen so much more in love with nature, the great outdoors, Australia itself. Like, I just have so much awe and reverence for it. Like, I can't even put it into words. I found more of myself. I get emotional talking about these things. I feel like I'm living my true life. Like, I've found who I am. Even doing YouTube videos and bringing you all of this, it's just, I feel like I've found my path, and I would never, ever have gotten here if it wasn't for moving into my beautiful girl Gypsy. I just love this lifestyle. I have absolutely no regrets about moving into the van. There's inconveniences, there's, missing family and friends, there's tough moments of being overwhelmed because you've got unexpected issues with the van or breakdowns. Not that I've had breakdowns really, but I've had a few issues with electrical and stuff. But to me, it's all just part of it. I've talked before about, it'd be nice to have someone else to fill my water tanks for me and things like that. But to be honest, it really doesn't worry me. I actually kind of like it because, lifting those water containers, it's building my muscle in my arms. Just a lot of the things I have to do with the van, it's keeping me physically active. And that's so important. And being out in nature every day is so good for my soul. The fresh air, when I'm out remote, and the stars that I can see, the wildlife that I get to encounter, oh gosh, yeah, the wildlife to me is just, that's my family on the road, Yeah, so do I regret van life? Absolutely 100% not. Do I recommend it? Of course. Do you have to do it full time? No, you can just give it a go, do a weekender. But yeah, you might just find that all those things I found, you might find too. Someone once said to me that they don't believe in regrets because the choices we make in that moment are the exact ones we want to make in that moment. To me, regret really is just a signpost. It shows us where something mattered. You don't regret the things you never cared about. You regret the choices that shaped you, the risks you took, the moments where something in you wanted to grow. And when you look at it like that, regret becomes less of an enemy and more of a guide. When I think about van life, sure, there's been things that were messy or stressful or expensive. There were moments where I felt out of my depth or unsure. But instead of collecting those moments as regrets, I see them as turning points. The little nudges that redirected me, softened me, strengthened me, or taught me something I didn't even know I needed. I think a lot of us carry this idea that regret means we failed. That if we had done things right, we wouldn't feel that uncomfortable tug in our chest when we look back. That humans aren't designed to live spotless lives. We make decisions with the information we had in the moment, with the level of courage we had, with the level of self-trust we had. And when we look back years later, wiser, braver, more experienced, of course the choices look different. That doesn't mean they were wrong at the time. I've started to believe that regret is actually a sign of evolution. It means you've grown. It means you can now see from a higher vantage point. You can look at an old version of yourself and say, wow, I've come so far that this no longer fits who I am. That's not something to judge, that's something to celebrate. And when it comes to big life changes, like living on the road, travelling solo, or building a creative life, regret becomes a question of alignment. Not, was this perfect, but did this move me closer to who I want to become? And even the hardest parts of van life have moved me forward. The challenges made me more resourceful. The solitude made me more grounded. The problem solving made me more confident. Every bump in the journey gave me something. So how could I regret any of it? Maybe the real problem isn't regret itself, but the way we're taught to interpret it. We're told it's a sign that we messed up, but maybe it's actually a sign of clarity. A moment where we realise what really matters to us. Maybe the regret is less about wishing the past was different and more about realising what the future can be. So if you're watching this because you're thinking about van life, or any big decision really, here's something I've learned. You don't need to avoid regret, you just need to understand it. If you let it show you what you value, then even the things that don't go to plan become part of the path. At the end of the day, I think regret is just the mind's way of asking you to pay attention. Not to punish yourself, not to rewrite your past, but to step into your next chapter with more awareness, more intention, and more self-trust. When you approach life like that, even the imperfect moments end up feeling meaningful. So no, I don't regret choosing van life. I don't regret challenges or the lessons. If anything, I'm grateful for them, because every single one has shaped who I'm becoming, and that to me is the whole point.